You mentioned in a previous interview a quote by C.S. Lewis. I'm going to state it the way that I found it on Google.
Okay.
Um, he's very sassy, which is really funny. But he says, even in literature and art, no man who bothers about originality will ever be original. Whereas if you simply try to tell the truth without caring twopence how often it has been told before, you will 9 times out of 10 become original without ever having noticed it. So you mentioned this quote in another interview, and what I find interesting about it is that in modern art, especially in like modern schools and universities, they tell you to be original, which is contrary to what C.S. Lewis is saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I wanted to discuss the quote a little bit further with you.
Yeah, I find that quote to be absolutely dead on in terms of how to be authentic with your artwork. I originally went to art school in Chicago and I studied commercial art. In commercial art, it was all about flash and um, style and mimicking this style or that style. How do you grab someone's attention? How do you make it as commercial as possible? Well, when I was, and thankfully I was only in that for about a year and a half, but it still took me several years to kind of beat that thinking out of my system. But uh, so I was when I embarked on my fine art career, I had to kind of disengage from that thinking that I had to have a style, that I had to have, what style in quotes do I want to paint? So, you just have to just kind of get that out of my thinking. And then Lewis's quote was, Dan, if you want to be original, just tell the truth. What that means to me is just paint, just look at something that inspires you and try to paint it as accurately as you can. The style that you are supposed to paint will emerge. You have to just trust that. And so that's really what I have gotten out of that. And I have often have students ask me about that as well. Oh, I just don't know. I feel like I paint in this style and this style and this style. I don't know what style to paint. Well, don't worry about it. Just simply tell the truth. Simply try to paint that grouping of trees just as you see it. And when you do that, you will be beautifully unique, beautifully original. Maybe not the first time, but if you do that over and over and over, you will develop and your preferences, all of your life experience will all end up coming through the end of your brush, and you will create these wonderfully unique pieces without, as he says, without you having noticed it. And that's the best part.
Mhm. Yeah. And I guess that's also, a lot of the artists these days, especially artists who have only been existing in the time of social media and haven't understood, life before that.
Right.
A lot of them are very concerned with originality, branding, finding their voice. And I think that that quote is perfect to counteract, everyone's work just looking inauthentic or not, or even like, because when you look at a painting by someone, sometimes you can tell, like you feel it, that it's like, this isn't,
Yes.
maybe the painting isn't bad, but it just isn't authentic. It's not being honest somehow, you know?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do know what you mean. And, um, you know, so when I find myself being drawn to trying to be too much like someone, I just have to remember, Dan, just tell the truth. Just be who I was made to be and be good with that. And it's going to be sufficient. There's only one you, there's
Mm-hmm.
only one me. Um, Trust that that's where you're supposed to be with it. So, social media is wonderful. The exposure to so many different things and ideas is awesome. Sometimes as an artist, as a working artist, sometimes that's too much though. Sometimes you have to quiet yourself to just listen and figure out what you need to do, personally. And you can really easily get confused when you have too much stimulus. So